There we go, it's good.
She's in training right now. Every week she goes for a day, 3 hours of training. With 3 classes. Except for 10 classes. So this is the week.
We all set?
Yep.
Excellent. Welcome everyone to the Lincolnville Select Board meeting. It is May 28th, 6 p.m. Before we get going, Mike, would you care to read the quote?
The world will change for the better when people decide that they're sick and tired of being sick and tired of the way the world is, and then decide to change it themselves.
Change them.
No, that's right, they're gonna change themselves, not the world. That's Sydney Madway.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to open the podium for any non-agenda items. Seeing nobody here to discuss a non-agenda item, we'll move along to the administrator's report.
First thing is, you've had at your station a request that we add an agenda item for something that came up after the agenda was published, back over the weekend, and I think time is of the essence with that. So your own rules say that you have to declare that whatever came up after the agenda was published and that it's time sensitive. And then when you get there, it's an executive session. At the end of the meeting would be great.
End of the meeting?
Yep.
Well, I trust the fact that you think it's important, so I think we should make a motion.
I move that at the request of the town administrator, that an item regarding the possible acquisition or disposition of real property be found to have arisen after the agenda was posted and should not wait until the next board meeting, but rather be added to the board May 28th agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much. So we'll add that to, that will become
14 and a half.
there you go, 14.5. All right, anything else, David?
Oh, sure. Absentee ballots are available now for the June 11th state primary and local ballots. And Calderwood Lane, we've started on the project and then come to a screeching halt waiting on some materials. I guess that's it besides the agenda, unless somebody has something.
All right, any questions for David? All right, let's move along to upcoming meetings and announcements.
All meetings are here at the town office unless announced otherwise. Lincolnville Central School Committee is meeting Monday, June 3rd, 6 p.m. at Lincolnville Central School. The Recreation Commission and Select Board are scheduled to meet in a workshop on Monday, June 3rd at 6 p.m. Recreation Commission is also scheduled to meet Monday, June 10th, 4 p.m. and the Select Board meeting next on Monday, June 10th at 5 p.m. for a warrant-only meeting.
Yes, thank you. And are there any upcoming community events anyone wishes to share? All right, well, I'm sure the Google group will have notice if we miss something. Then we have 2 sets of meeting minutes, one from the 13th and one from the 20th. I will entertain a motion on the first.
I move that the board approve the May 13th, 2024 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much. And the second set of minutes from our joint meeting with Northport.
Move that the board approve the May 20th, 2024 meeting minutes as presented.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you much. And moving rapidly along, we have the chair of the Heart and Soul team here to give us an update.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity always. And as you know, we had a summit that created the statements that have been finalized. They've been vetted, they've been revised, they've now gone out into their final version, which I think is, you've seen, they're hopefully on the town website. One thing that many towns have done is created a resolution to adopt these as statements, and I would love to see Lincolnville Select Board do similar kind of thing. the one in the resolution from one community just says, whereas extensive public input informed the statements, so on and so forth, and whereas the select board finds the adoption of the community heart and soul statements will provide guidance in the preparation of future policy and strategic plans of the town, as well as operational and investment decisions. Now therefore be it resolved that the town approve and adopt the community heart and soul statements listed herein and commit to using them where applicable to evaluate decisions in preparation for future policy, strategic plans, and operational and investment decisions. So there's lots of other options for wording, but I would love to see us take that on, or you take that on as the official folks to do that kind of thing.
We have a question about that.
Yeah.
So if we wanted to do that, how would we do that? Have to get that on an agenda item, I would think, right now?
Yeah, and so my question is that, would that be at the conclusion of your work as a team, or do you feel that sort of in the middle of the process, that kind of action makes sense?
I think it would, I mean, you can do it whenever, but I think that because the statements are done, and we're going to now move, we're moving into phase 3 out of 4 phases, which is the gathering of action ideas. We've already, in all our interviews and all our data gathering, we've already collected dozens and dozens and dozens of ideas. So we're gonna have meetings all through the summer to look at each statement sort of in turn and say, okay, here's the environment statement, and what ideas do people have? And in those, we will invite, like, conservation. If it's the environment one, we would invite the Conservation Commission. If it's, the first one is gonna be, I mean, and they're all open to the public, it isn't just that, but we would specifically reach out to organizations, both the town committees and other organizations in town that we know might have a vested interest in those things. So the Historical Society will be invited and is going to be actually hosting the first one that we're going to do in June, which is the history, culture, and small town rural. We're going to combine a couple of them. But so I think that it would be a good vote of support right now to sort of say, yeah, we're feeling like this process is going well, that the statements have been vetted, they've been tweaked and retweaked, and we're comfortable with all of them, and we think that this is what our town believes in. Certainly that's how we feel as a committee. Some towns have posted them in their town offices, some towns have put them, I mean, I think we should put them on our website sort of front and center, those kinds of things. They'll certainly be in the comprehensive plan, but to answer your question, Lily, I think that it would be great if you did it before the end of the process.
Okay.
Just to kind of-
Sooner than later.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think
Okay.
that lets us know that you're fully on board and we're fully headed in the direction that you're feeling good about.
Okay.
So,
Understood.
Okay. Yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah, so
Yes.
in a future,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know who to work with to come up with the wording, or if that's something that you wanted to tackle, or how we proceed with the specific wording. That was just one that Kat, our coach, sent to me today.
Yeah, I
And I
think
told her I was coming to you, and
I think it's, we put this on a future agenda, if you send some draft examples for
Okay.
us to consider, and then
yeah,
as a board, we can have a discussion about what feels good and makes sense and all that kind of thing.
absolutely,
That might be the best way to proceed.
sounds good. So this is, as I said then, so that's great, I appreciate that a lot. We're moving into phase 3, we've got the statement, so we will now have a series of meetings. We're gonna do it more or less every other Thursday evening, feeling like it worked in December to have a regular time when we were gonna be open. We're gonna move around town so that we'll have the agriculture, forestry, and marine is gonna be at the Grange. And we're hoping that some of the outdoors oriented ones can be at Breezemeer. Then the Historical Society one would be there. And so we're gonna try to have them in different locations. Just, as one of the things that we're sort of realizing is there are a lot of people in town who may have lived in town quite a long time, but still don't get it and don't know what the Grange is and what that offers, or, you know,
Sure, yeah.
some of those kinds of things. So we felt like it might be nice to.
A little community outreach in the education and
Yeah,
outreach.
yeah, exactly. So the first one of those is a community event that should go on the calendar of June 6th. We're gonna start. That one will be down at the Historical Society Schoolhouse Museum, and then we won't have one, you know, we'll just try to have them. We've got a whole schedule that's in your packet. Hopefully it can go on the town website. We're creating posters that will have both the statements and that schedule on them that we'll post around town, kind of like we did with the statement vetting and all of those kinds of things. So the only other sort of real question that I have for you folks is that as we host these meetings and these conversations, people start to get excited and they say, oh, we could do this and this and this. And some of those ideas are time sensitive, outside really what I would see anyway as the purview of what you folks have to get involved with. It's not about finances, it's not town government. But so we would like to have, I don't know if I'm asking for permission or just telling you, but.
They're so close, they're so close.
It's a fine line, I'm walking the tightrope.
That's a good one.
So we're trying to figure out how do we communicate some of these neat ideas that come up. Like, for instance, we had one of our meetings and we were practicing the procedure that we use to get to go through it, to get those to get to the ideas, and sort of help people understand that doing nothing in our town is doing something, because town is gonna change, and how do we want it to change? So we had this change over time procedural thing, and we were practicing it ourselves, and one of the people that was there was like, we need a Friends of the Beach, or Friends of Lincolnville Beach, because the DOT is trying to take it over and pave it. So that sort of happened. We had a discussion about it. It seemed like it was reasonable to have a Friends of Lincolnville Beach group. And so it got posted on the bulletin board as kind of an offshoot. It doesn't mean we endorse it. It doesn't mean we're saying everybody needs to go fight the DOT because they're gonna pave paradise. It just means, you know, anyway, so that's been a challenge for us to try to walk that tightrope, making sure that we communicate to the community some of these neat ideas that others, because our hope is that new ideas will come along, we'll be sort of the connectors to help those people find each other.
Yeah.
And then they go off and do their own thing, and in future emails, that Friends of the Beach won't come out of Heart and Soul, it'll come out of that committee, just like the Dark Skies does, just like
Right.
whatever. So tell me where I am on the high timeline.
Yeah, well, I guess I have a question in return of, so the grant money runs through the third phase, is that right?
It runs through the fourth phase. I don't know, I think basically it runs, there are 4 phases. At the end of this phase 3, we'll probably have another summit to sort of say, here's a whole bunch of different ideas that have kind of started to coalesce. Which ones need to be town, which ones can go off on their own, which ones are so pie in the sky that probably nobody's really gonna make it happen, or it's gonna be 20 years down the road, or whatever. So we'll prioritize and have a meeting to do some of that kind of stuff. And then the 4th phase, I believe, is figuring out how to make sure it goes on. So whether it becomes a standing committee of the town, whether it becomes its own committee, like the LIA or some other entity in town, that's where that's going. So it goes through, I think it goes through until December. That's when we have to finish it all up.
I would say the short answer is as long as you're operating under the auspices of this seal, it's going to have to follow municipal process,
Right.
which I know is frustrating in terms of timing and meetings and approvals and all that, but I think we all would agree that it's so important to do this the best way that we possibly can for the greatest outcome for our community. And the pathway that the people have decided is through that municipal process, at least for the time being, in order to be careful of not inadvertently having, say, individuals' political opinions shining through, you know what I mean? So I guess, being really clear if there is like a Friends of the Beach offshoot, that it is very distinct and separate from the Heart and Soul's work with the town of Lincolnville, because the perception, and this is the really, talk about the gray area tightrope that we walk, is making sure that, say, an email comes out from the Heart and Soul Committee promoting a non-town committee like Friends of the Beach. The perception is that that's the town endorsing that. So those are the things, while I understand and appreciate the enthusiasm, I think we just have to be creative in a way of figuring out how to not stifle that enthusiasm, but create that very clear separation from the very specific town work that the Heart and Soul Committee is doing, and then the sort of overflowing of rich and abundant ideas that may be coming up as a result of all of this work.
So is it in the wording of emails? I mean, or are you saying that we have to bring every single little idea that could be an offshoot through this body?
You look like you ever thought.
To me, a thought or an offshoot needs to stand unto itself and cannot in any way, can any official committee of the town be used as a megaphone for the offshoot in any way, shape, or form.
So coming from an individual's email,
Yeah.
to say the Google group or something like that, rather from Heart and Soul, Town of Lincolnville.
Yeah.
Because you can then see the perception that there is an unspoken endorsement.
Just because we're
Of the
announcing
concept.
that this
Yeah.
group is having a gathering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand the good intentions behind that action, but I think anything that isn't directly related to the stated purposes of the Heart and Soul work has to stand completely independently.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, Cindy, if you can think of Heart and Soul as this great outfit, it does wonderful things, but it's also an information launderer, it's supposed to be a money launderer. That's kind of, I can see you do it, kind of having someone else send the email out.
Yeah.
Rather than under your.
Well, that did occur to me after that last one, the beach, that Maria's the one that's organizing it, so it should have come out of her
Yeah.
email rather than.
Yeah. And ultimately, I'm speaking solely for myself, it seems like the best thing for whatever the Heart and Soul team evolves to after phase 3 and phase 4, which we're sort of, for lack of a better term, contracted to do, becomes its own entity, so you have a greater level of freedom to move about the world, and without the encumbrances, but also with the sincere hope that we continue to interface. But you see what I mean, like sort of relieving the Heart and Soul team ultimately of the the burden or the mantle of the municipal process.
Yeah, I would also suggest that if you find that there are causes, groups coming out of your discussions, like the friends of this, that, or the other thing, that you might, I don't think it would be, yeah, I think it'd be totally appropriate, it seems to me, that for the Heart and Soul group to say, why don't you go to get on the select board agenda, have a conversation with those folks and see where the guardrails are with your project. Just,
Or to just introduce themselves.
yeah, exactly, yeah, just to do that, so expectations are raised.
Yeah.
You know, that type of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, or, you know, it just very basically that the lines of communication are as clear and open as they possibly can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's right. I think that we have gotten ourselves into a position where, you know, we are probably gathering, right at the moment, gathering more information than most other entities in town. And therefore, for better and for worse, that means that we feel a responsibility to disseminate that back out so that folks get a better understanding, I think, of what all the things are that are going on in town. It's a pretty vibrant town, and there's a lot of
Yeah,
folks out there, but there's a lot of folks that are kind of in their little areas and aren't, you know, we're trying to help them recognize that they're, who the select board members are and how you work with that and that sort of thing, but that's, you know, some of those relatively newer folks who come from big cities, why would I go to a, you know, I don't have any power in the town, sort of thing.
yeah,
You know, but we do as citizens in Lincolnville, and that's a really gift that we have in our small
Yeah.
town, so.
yeah. And the tricky thing really is, you know, you could almost remove the Heart and Soul team. I mean, you are representatives of the town of Lincolnville, and as such, you know, it's that tricky line of not being perceived as being your own political action committee with, you know, because we're efforting to have this project really represent all
Absolutely,
aspects of our community, which are really diverse, and to not unintentionally alienate other
That's huge.
segments.
That's
And-
really
And so
huge.
that's where that, you know, as
Mhm.
Steve said, having what may feel like a really important position or opinion or project of a small group of individuals not taint the
Yeah.
pool for other individuals who may not feel the same way, and honoring both of those opinions.
Definitely, yeah, and perception is so huge, you know,
Yeah.
it's really what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
obviously, none of us on the committee would want to jeopardize ourselves or the work that we've been doing
Yeah.
to reach out to as broad a spectrum by it being perceived that we're advocating in any one direction, because
Yeah.
we're really trying hard not to, so.
Yep. Yep.
we'll,
Yeah.
Share that back,
Yeah.
and finally, we would like to, speaking of opportunities for people to visit with us, we'd like to have a table at the polls. Again, we don't have
Oh, yeah.
any surveys to ask people about, we don't need any, I mean, we always welcome people's feedback, but it won't be anything necessarily formal and structured, but we would like permission to have another table at the polls.
Yeah, great.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any
All
other
right.
questions for Cindy?
No, that's it, well, no, yeah, I guess I do, yeah, and the board as well. As I mentioned to you, Cindy, at our last meeting, I'm gonna have to jump off our
Oh,
small group.
yeah, right.
But, so the board, but our charter requires that there be somebody
Mm.
from the board. So I'm gonna ask that on the next agenda, we take that up amongst ourselves. And if nobody's willing to do it, nobody wants to jump on, I'll certainly stay with it, because that's what the charter.
Well, we
What
will,
the charter requires.
we will be looking at appointments in our second meeting in June.
Which is really your first meeting in June, except for approving the bills.
Right,
So
yeah.
maybe there's no need
So
to
there-
do that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think naturally, you know, if
Right.
you're submitting your resignation or your intention to not be reappointed, then we'll have to have that discussion. Yeah.
During that time, great.
Yeah.
But now you're forewarned. Somebody else.
Now we go. Any other questions for Cindy? Cindy, thank you so much. It's really great to be
Yeah,
able to check in.
I appreciate all that you guys do, and, and we're starting moving our meetings to the evenings, Thursday evenings, just in general as well, because it's summer and people can get out.
Yep.
in that time of year, so.
Okay,
We'll
super.
get it onto the calendar.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy.
And next, we have the Conservation Commission here with an update.
Okay, we're the Committee of Public Speakers. So, bear with us.
Totally
So,
professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm Paul Sampson, one of the members, and the last time we were here, we went over some of the safety concerns and environmental concerns that have come up down at the Spit Duck Track. And he gave us a blessing to go ahead a little bit more on a few items, which we have been doing, and we're able to go down and view this winter's storms damage down there, and we've invited Doug Beck from the Department of Bureau of Parks and Lands to come over and give us a quick history lesson of how the state got it, how the town of Lincolnville was able to lease it, some of the do's and the don'ts of what should happen and not happen with that lease, and so on and so forth. I believe there's more specifics of that were included in your packet. And we've had the opportunity to down do a full site walk of the 10 or so acres that are comprised of that leased land that goes from Route 1 down to Duck Truck Beach. In doing that, now we're here to ask if we could talk with Maine DOT. They quasi-own right off of Route 1, the top of that property, and we'd like to talk to them about road access from there to wherever, possible parking lot, whatever, to then trails. And we'd also like to talk to Coastal Mountain Land Trust, who owns the field adjacent to this property, that there are a lot of ravines that go down through the duck truck property, and possible trails might work a little bit better out onto Coastal Mountains property than this actual property. A lot of this, possible that, possible whatever, but we're at a point where we need your blessings to, we probably steer a little bit of Mr. Kenny's time in finding the appropriate people to talk to on that. And we're also here to ask if anybody had any questions in what we've submitted thus far about what we're doing down there.
I've got a few. Anyone else have anything jump out at them? I wanted to go back to Doug's discussion and things that he kind of thought in terms of next steps and the comprehensive community vision process. What was your internal discussion about including something like that?
Everything, once we can put all the pieces together. He was quite helpful with giving us some of the options that should be included. There are a couple of things that we don't have any signage to go down to unless you know about it, you don't know it's there.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little disappointed about that because that's not really part of the original lease agreement, but the other parts of what he had to say, we've taken into consideration. It would depend on A, if a project did happen there, B, what type of project it would be, and how the funding would be around those projects.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's a little too early to say, oh yeah, he had the magic answer for us and we're gonna follow that.
Okay. is it's more of a question for the board, but, you know, my immediate thought kind of goes back to just sort of policy. And that perhaps we should add this to our very short priorities workshop that we're going to be having in the near future, just so that we can discuss what the board's thoughts, goals are around public access, our parks, management, that kind of thing, you know, not to diminish any one thing that's ever on our agenda, but I sort of think about it from a widget standpoint,
Yep.
and, you know, what is it that we're trying to accomplish here, big picture? And, you know, so immediately I think, you know, to what is it our people want? And what is it that the board should be thinking of? And then all the minutia that comes after that, sort of like, how much is it going to cost?
Exactly.
Is this something that our people are going to want to afford?
So I think what we're trying to do is weed through some of that minutia and find out what some of those costs might be, if it really could be a project or not. And so, and then what the cost would be. I can tell you at this point that it was very encouraging, some of the ideas that Mr. Beck had of the funding that would be available currently. And he, before coming to talk with us, he had talked with some of the other departments of saying, would you, you know, off the record, but would you be interested, would this be suitable, is it okay, should they pursue it? And those were checked off at the various things. So I think that if we could do a little more digging to find out what the minutia of these literally needs are, and to see if there are possibilities, then we can say, here's page 2 or 3 of what we've found out. Now you take it and see if it's worth it or not. And if the town thinks it's a good idea or bad, then we probably have to go on to, you know, a few other little things.
Yeah,
But I think we're way too early for saying, oh, we're here tonight because we'd like to hire a landscape architect.
Yeah, okay, great.
So,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, so you're just looking for general consensus and agreement from the board that, you know, doing further homework is a good idea.
right, and because we do have to talk to other entities, we are, in essence, kind of
Yeah.
asking on the town's behalf, so that's
Yeah.
why we're.
We appreciate that very much, yeah.
Yep.
General nodding of heads from everybody?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate, again, you know, the open lines of communication are great. And so, we appreciate your willingness to put the time and effort into this.
Should be, if anything, if it comes through at all, I mean, it's a, you know, very special place down there, and, so whatever we can find out about it, won't hurt.
All right,
One question.
sure,
You
yeah.
said,
With the lease agreement, he's disappointed there's no sign.
Right,
I didn't realize that we needed to advertise that.
right.
I don't know, I would want to.
I know, exactly, and one of the reasons was, for not being advertised, one of the reasons that these safety concerns came up was that it really did get used and a little bit abused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
No, I
everybody got back into camping and going to the beach at that time off during COVID. So, but because it is being, you know, offered as public access, and that's what it was given to be, and why it was accepted, and goes back to 73 grand funds that they had from Gulf of Mexico oil drilling funds. You know,
And to be fair, we took that lease on
yeah.
in order to be, better stewards
Yeah.
to that property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Too,
I'm just
so,
wondering if we probably gotta have a sign out there that says public access.
No,
No?
it's just if we took state funds
Okay.
and there was access, then there would be,
Okay.
that would be a requirement, which would be different
Okay.
than what is currently happening.
Thank you, but sorry I asked.
I know, yeah. But it's amazing, I mean,
Just wondered.
every time we've been down there, people are popping on down, and,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
these gentlemen were down with us one day, and, the beach really, you know,
It's a busy
the
place.
rocks really hadn't been, nothing had been happening after the storms, but
Yeah.
people still come down and bottom out, and you don't have to get there.
It is
you
a know? busy
So,
area. It
Yeah,
really is.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, thank you.
Alrighty,
Thank
so,
you
that's
very
great.
much.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Steve.
Did you have there was a page in here about the tree inventory work. Did you?
Oh, yeah. Did you want to speak to that at all?
if we could, if you'd be interested in, we can, but Will and Rich have done most of that work. Unfortunately, Will isn't here tonight.
Can I just,
Sure.
Come on up to the podium. That way everybody at home can hear you too.
Christine, just since all three of us are here, and we've all been involved in this, if we do have any more questions now about duck trap, we're happy to answer questions. I just wanted to offer that to you, because we have, the three of us spend a fair bit of time, and Will has too, and Mike also. So, happy to answer any questions if you do have any right now.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rich Smith from the commission. We started this tree inventory starting up in the line of Route 1 and went down all the way to the Camden line. Took us about almost 2 years. Obviously, we're not doing it every day, but so anyhow, I think we sort of spelled out what we were trying to do, the metrics we were interested in gathering in this tree survey, and the idea behind it and the movement was actually by Will, who I guess is the town's tree ordinance superintendent or something. But anyhow, he's very tree oriented and yeah, with canopies and roadway canopies. But anyhow, he is planning ahead for what MDOT might be thinking about on Route 1. And so we want to get a head start, find out, well, what is there? Trees have value. What are the trees that are there? What are the impacts? We tried to identify drainage ditches, culverts, and whether the tree was in good shape or whether it was in declining shape. And we're trying to just get that together. So if the eventualities arises, which some think it may be coming sooner rather than later, we have some background information. Each tree that we surveyed has a GPS location on it now. We've also put GPS locations on all the CMP utilities poles, just so if you're driving down the street, you get an idea of where this is. So that's that is essentially the heart and soul of what we've been trying to do these last years. There is still work to put the information together. We have tried to have a photo documentary process of these special trees, and that's what we're doing. So we've done the field work, we have not finished the paper.
Okay, that was gonna be the question.
Yeah.
Was there gonna be a map or
Well,
aerial or
something, yeah, we just don't know yet.
Okay.
Suggestions would help.
If you've got
So that's
GPS
what we're at.
locations and can get into any
Yeah,
sort
you
of
can, exactly.
GIS mapping,
Right.
that'd be a whole resource.
So anything else you want to know about trees, maybe I can answer.
I don't think so.
No, I think it might help to point out how we all were concerned about the overlap between the right of way and the tree. I can't remember which one, but because of the basal height of the roots.
We had the root protection zone,
Root
protection zone, where is the overlap with the right of way on Route 1?
Right, and
Unfortunately, from Will's discussions, the right of way is not consistent on that section of Route 1 through Lincolnville.
Yeah.
But we just took a general right-of-way measurement, and we put that into the GPS that we got, and like Mike was saying, what is the overlap between the right-of-way and the root protection zone? We just didn't want to be concerned about the tree trunk and where that stands. We're more interested in protecting the health of the tree, hence the root protection zone.
Gotcha. Great, thank you so much.
Okay, great.
And let's see, if there's nothing else on that, we have some possible land use ordinance amendments as we discussed at our last meeting here. David, do you wish to speak to this at all?
Sure. It was identified for us that our ordinance, land use ordinance was lacking in some of the state mandated shoreline zoning after the January floods, particularly in regard to ability of property owners to mitigate those potential damages by raising their buildings. So we brought that to the board's attention and said, get onto it,
Yeah.
get those prepared. So working with the code officer and the town attorney, we've put together a couple of pages of amendments that would address being able to raise buildings. And also there was one other issue regarding development in the shoreline. By state statute now, we're supposed to have pre and post photographs submitted with permit applications. So we've got that language in there, and put together a timeline with a little bit of urgency because we had at least one or two, we've had two that I'm aware of, property owners inquire with Frank about the rules and being able to raise their properties. And one has indicated that he would like to do that after the summer season and before the next summer season. So we were kind of hoping, we were planning to prepare this so we could move forward quicker, sooner rather than later. So the tentative timeline, if the amendments are okay with you folks, these would go to the planning board for a public hearing, which is what's required by the land use in order to change the land use ordinance. Those have to be advertised in newspapers with general circulation in the area. So we will be looking at a public hearing sometime in the latter part of June. And then operating on the assumption that everything would still be hunky-dory, it would come back to the select board for consideration of the special town meeting warrant in July, and a possible special town meeting at the end of July to adopt, or not adopt, to consider adopting.
Any questions for David?
Pretty about that. And the timeline, again, it lists tentative dates. It certainly can move slower, but it can't move much quicker due to the advertising and who's got to meet when and that, so.
It makes total sense. Someone care to make a motion?
I move propose 2024 amendments to the Town of Lincolnville Land Use Ordinance be forwarded to the planning board for purposes of conducting the statutorily required public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
So the planning board is the appropriate place to ask specific questions about this then?
And we'd be happy to attempt to answer questions, but the public hearing would be a chance to ask questions and also to attempt to convince your, the town meeting would also say this, attempt to convince your friends and neighbors that it's a good idea or a bad idea, or all of the language pretty is, I won't say verbatim out of the statute, but pretty much it's just where it gets inserted into our own ordinance.
Yeah.
We didn't really create language, we just tried to find the right spot and to match up the sentences so they had good grammar, which is something I struggle with.
All right. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And we have a public facility status update.
Before Matt starts talking,
Yes.
he's good at it, but so am I. We've been diligently working, trying to get a better grasp on what we have for public facilities, particularly at the harbor, in terms of getting ourselves back into summer shape. Maybe Matt can talk a little bit about, where we stand on the sidewalk and seawall repairs. And then we'll talk specifically about some things at the pier and in the harbor itself.
Sounds great.
Can do that. Have you seen the harbor lately? Have you been down there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hopefully it's what you pictured.
That's great.
They're working on the bridge right now where the expansion joint is, realigning the bricks. David Petty will be here later this week, if not, beginning of next week to repave front where the benches were and around the bathroom facility and just touch up all of our pavement down there. So I expect in the next week, we will be done with that entire project down there.
Is that a lot more than we thought? The damage there, was it?
No,
No?
it was not. The damage on
I
the
know we
parking
talked
lot,
about possible undermining and the, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
it was less than we thought.
Great.
Yes, they cut the pavement.
Yeah.
There was actually pretty good material in there. You know, and it held. So they've installed more riprap gravel, compacted it. We've been letting it sit for about a week.
Yeah.
And, before Dave comes.
Good.
The benches aren't ready to go back yet. We've got a new stone to set the cannon on. The cannon's next door. We still have to refurbish that, but it'll at least be safer.
Refurbish it and test fire it.
Right? It'll at least be safe, right, we'll have our, that would be cool, but somebody put lead in the barrel years ago.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
So, we're working towards getting everything back, the benches will probably be next, get those back. We have to make new mounts for them, of course, that whole area's been disturbed, but. So with any luck, later this week, if not, beginning of next week, we'll be all cleaned up, swept, everything back in order down there.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Okay, moving in what's more in the packet, we didn't know we hired a draft person when we,
Love the updated pier, so.
but,
You like it?
Matt's put together one of the duties assigned to the harbor master is annually to update the fish pier and float usage plan, and then it comes to the select board for approval. It's required to, the harbor master submit that by the end of this month, I believe is
Yes.
the date, and for the board to review, revise, and approve by July 1. The nice thing about being harbor master is having a good deputy harbor master, because he did the plan. We've pretty much taken what was a little less formal before and prettied it up a little bit. The information hasn't changed as to what's on it and pretty much where things are located. Let me see what I want to tell you. So last year you approved 21 bait box spaces. We have 16 renewals.
Yes.
So we have 5 spaces that are undesignated. We have 3 people that have requested a total of 5 bait box spaces. We go back to having a full slate, full house, if the board wants to keep 21 spaces there. And you don't have to make that decision tonight, but the sooner you make the decision as to the pier usage plan, the sooner we'll actually go to assign them, because if you're gonna decide that there are something less than 21, we won't assign them, we'll keep them on the big box waiting list.
My only question for the board and for our public facilities director is these 2 proposed locations, you know, not having that face free and having, I mean, I don't want to prevent anyone from the opportunity to have a needed bait bin, but.
I did measure that area, the davit, there's enough radius, and then we still have a ladder we need to install.
Right,
There is room.
so you'd feel okay about having two there on that,
No more than two, but
Yeah.
I think everybody can still function as needed.
okay,
I do.
okay.
That was my question. Being between the 2 winches, knowing that we still have a ladder that needs to go there.
Yep.
And all that goes on there.
Yeah, just think about like emergency,
Yeah.
some kind of emergency, you're having that end face clear and open.
But what you here for?
Yeah.
And you did say you've taken
I
measurements.
haven't
and-
measured the whole pier and laid that out,
Okay,
and what I did was, I took what we have for the 16, and if we cleared our list, and everybody's grouped together now by bait box owner, and I've already talked to all the bait box owners, so everybody's bait box, they wouldn't be scattered,
Okay,
perfect.
because they're required to number them to one,
Yeah.
so I'll know exactly who,
okay,
so.
okay,
I think what I'm hearing.
I don't care if we have 16 or 21, 21 fits with current situation, but that's it.
yeah. I mean, my inclination was to lose those two
Me too.
and just have these two faces.
So the other question I had, the trash receptacle there, is that just gonna remain that small one? That's
Yeah.
down there?
Over the winter, we had a dumpster there.
Yeah.
Because we we didn't lose, our contract for pickup ends. And since it's not as busy, Wayne was able to go down and pick it up with a truck. We've now gone back to a barrel. Yeah, which has been abused
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. And, that got pointed out to me over the weekend by the contractor that picks it up, and we're gonna find out who's abusing it, and Hammer, Deputy Harbor Master, is gonna have a conversation with that individual.
Well, now that we have camera down there.
Yep.
People need to know it, and,
I think it probably stemmed from something that was actually going on before when it was a dumpster,
yeah,
which isn't ideal. It's not, it's made for a coffee cup.
Yeah.
Trash receptacle. It's not made for somebody to be bringing frozen bait in and dumping the bait out and putting garbage in our dumpster.
Yeah.
And this is the second time that our contractor had to, instead of dump the barrel, had to literally put the barrel in, pick out the stuff by hand because it was jammed in there so tight that,
Mm. Okay.
so.
okay.
We're gonna communicate.
Good luck with that. I'm on it.
Well, so if we can't get voluntary compliance from people, we're gonna be back here saying our contractor doesn't wanna do it anymore.
Right.
And so if the contractor's not gonna do it, I mean, pretty much rest assured the town administrator's not gonna do it, and I'm gonna venture a guess the deputy harbor master's not gonna do it. We're gonna recommend you get rid of it if you can.
Yep.
And carry in, carry out.
Yep.
That works in some of our other spots, and, don't take advantage of what the town offers. I think it's-
Don't abuse the opportunity. Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Well, so getting back to those bait boxes though, so we have 16 renewals,
Correct.
and how many people on the wait list?
5,
And of those 5 individuals, would these be new
no.
spots or just additional?
The 5th one would be a new resident.
Uh-huh.
So 2 to Nikhil, 2 to Richie Osgood Jr., and then the 5th one is new. They don't have any bait boxes down there. It's a young kid that's got his license.
Okay. Okay.
We don't have a limit on bait boxes per.
We don't. We should have that conversation at some
No,
point.
we should.
but
I mean,
don't.
just looking at the geometry and the layout of the pier, it makes sense to have a more definitive.
In your
I think we should.
experience, what is a good number? Or is there no?
For
good
that
number?
size pier, I would think 4 or 5 should be the max per person.
Do these additional requests put anybody over that?
No.
Is there currently
But-
anybody over that already?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
But-
We have one individual with 7.
But if we don't approve all of these spots, that means that young the 5th person on the waiting list wouldn't get one.
I don't wanna push anybody out, but I think that he's feeling it,
Yes.
to be fair.
Yeah.
And also, I know you're saying this is gonna work, but I also wanna revisit it after this year and look at that, just to make sure you're sure that was the right decision.
Okay.
Okay?
And then look at a cap on
Yeah.
number per.
I just think that's the right thing to do.
I do too.
Okay.
So
Like I
you're,
say,
you're
that-
right,
this is the max.
Yeah.
Right here, for
Yeah.
safety, for radiuses,
yeah,
I don't know how we would put more down there and get around.
yeah. So is your thought to go with this as it is this year, and then we'll come up with
Yeah.
a more thoughtful plan? Okay,
I didn't wanna start out maxed out.
Okay.
But I'm good with that, because I know we can manage it from here, one way or another.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
okay.
This appears better than what I've seen in the past.
It is.
Yeah,
I agree.
100%, yeah. Well, as such, can I have a motion, please?
Let's see here, I move the select board approve the May 23rd, 2024 Lincolnville Fish Pier and Float Usage Plan.
Second.
Moved and well seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much.
Now that you've taken on the easy one. Yeah.
It's all easy, David.
So the town is in the process of replacing the mooring buoys of the town guest moorings with the Coast Guard standard buoys, which is white with a blue horizontal stripe. Those buoys will also be labeled so that people know that they're town guest moorings and their size and whatever else boaters need to know about the mooring itself. That will more than double the number of white buoys we have down there with horizontal blue stripes on. Anybody that's been assigned a mooring in the last several years has been told your buoy needs to be white with a blue stripe, and they have been. That being said, we have a lot of non-Coast Guard standard mooring buoys in the harbor. And we would like to get people to have the right thing, so I won't say no, there is less chance of confusion by a boater. People in the boating world, as I understand it, are familiar with Coast Guard regulations and going to harbors, and if you see a white buoy, it's more likely a mooring. If you see a different colored buoy, it's got some other meaning. You didn't see, you didn't get colored on it. Yeah, you don't get colored.
That's okay.
Anyhow, so Deputy Harbor Master got the fine assignment of going for a ride out in the harbor, looking at buoys to see what were labeled. All buoys are supposed to be labeled with a harbor user number on it, so we know whose buoy that is, whose mooring that is, whether your boat's on it or not. And a fare number weren't labeled, either with a name or a user number, or either or both, or neither. So it's a little bit of controlled chaos there. So what our suggestion is, we've given you a couple of options, but our suggestion is that we send a reminder letter to mooring holders of the labeling and inspection requirements. All of our moorings or all of everyone's moorings are supposed to be inspected by a qualified mooring inspector, and that form turned in by July 1st. One of the questions on there is the mooring labeled per the ordinance, blah, blah, blah. And tell people that if their mooring isn't labeled by July 1st, that our intention is to verify the moorings to make sure what are and aren't, and then to remove the ones that aren't properly labeled. So that we can actually clear some people up off the harbor wait list. We've got people that have moorings and have paid that are on the Inner Harbor that would like to move to other locations in the Inner Harbor, but there are moorings there. We have people on the Inner Harbor mooring wait list that have been on there for a long time, because we didn't have any space. And then we have mooring holders in the Outer Harbor that would like to move a little bit closer towards the Inner Harbor, that if we can get rid of some moorings, we could move, or give people the options of moving in. And then we have people on the Outer Harbor wait list that would like to have a mooring opportunity that we could then address those. Whew. So that's what we would do in June. We'd also look to put some sort of notice in the local newspaper and on the website, so that if, quite literally, there are mooring buoys that we don't have any idea who they are.
I know.
Thank you. 9 of them.
And some that look pretty,
And
neglected.
Yes.
And so if somebody, somebody's grandfather had a mooring buoy and never cleaned it up, and somebody's they're not coming back now because they haven't paid their fees, they might come in and say, well, I gotta go get Grampy's mooring, or whatever, yourself, I'll help yourself. Anyhow, so come July, we'd verify ownership and labeling, engage a contractor to remove the others, and then assign moorings to the mooring weight holders. And obviously, we tell those people what they needed to have for a mooring buoy and how it would be labeled.
Not a new conversation, sounds like an awesome plan.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, and it's just like registering and inspecting a vehicle. You must comply, or there are consequences.
Yeah.
It's straightforward, and we've been trying to do this for years, and now's the time.
They've had a good run,
And
many decades.
And in addition to that, clearing up, if somebody, let's say somebody has a well-labeled orange ball, we'd like to get those to be compliant with Coast Guard regulations. That is not what our ordinance currently says. Our ordinance is silent on that. It does say the harbor master can assign certain, whatever I told you here, certain standards, which we've been doing for new. But we would like to have the ordinance clearly match up with the Coast Guard standards. And have made 2 suggestions, given the board 3 options, one of which is do nothing, and we'll just continue to wallow along like we've been wallowing along. Another is to basically tell people as of a certain date, all moorings from this point on shall be Coast Guard standard, which is what we do anyways, but it would memorialize it in the ordinance. And the other option is to take the slightly more aggressive approach and just say, as of this date, everybody that has one will be this way. And then voters adopt it, we'll convey the message and move forward.
And we're gonna do R3 in the month of June, so we set the example out there, so.
Great.
If the letters have to go out, if that's what you decide, at least the town warrants are what we're asking for.
Absolutely.
Difference.
Well, I'd like to go ahead and move that the select board instruct the town administrator and town attorney to prepare for board consideration an amendment to the harbor ordinance for option A, and that the amendment be included in the next town meeting warrant for select board consideration.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
That's the quick one, I just want to make sure.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely. All right, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. Anything else on that?
I got a question for you.
Yes.
Yeah, because we talked last week about a DMR grant possibility.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, right, so what's going on with that, or?
We talked about 2 different ones, right? The one was mainly electric.
Right,
and
not the
charging.
electric one, but you mentioned another one.
Yeah, it's a resilience grant.
You thought it might have potential.
It does.
Okay.
For the
That-
boat ramp or for?
Well, that one will let us improve.
Okay.
All these other grants and FEMA we've been working on are
Right.
just back to
Status
what we
quo.
had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one will actually allow us to make some improvements. It could be a boat ramp, it could be strapping the the pier down finally, it could be, so I'm working on that. Actually, that'll probably be a lot of my day tomorrow,
Okay,
Great.
because I gotta get it to him, of course, and, but yeah, that'll allow us to make improvements if we get that money.
Yeah.
It is a one-to-one match, so,
Okay.
you know,
okay.
it's pretty good, but there is some cost if
Sure.
we do decide to apply.
I'm just curious what the other two found out.
Yeah.
Sounds promising.
We're good candidates, we're a perfect example, it's a working waterfront, they want working piers, it's a resilience grant.
Another rely on electric, you know.
Right. Yeah, we're years, I think, from that one. I don't even know if Rockland would qualify for that electric one yet, like a big harbor like that,
Yeah.
so.
Excellent, I look forward to hearing more about.
In 2 weeks, I'll have a lot more on
Cool.
that one.
Excellent, thanks a lot.
You got a month.
Forward.
All right, month, okay, I got a month, even better.
Yeah,
I'll be ready.
Thank you so
You've got
much.
2 weeks, and I have 2 weeks, and then they'll come in a month.
thanks for the good work.
Thank you.
Moving along, at our last meeting with, the joint meeting with the Select Board of Northport, we asked the town administrators to draft a letter to the GOT expressing our sincere interest and desire to have a place at the table, from the early days. And so we have that draft letter before us, and if there's no real issues or questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Move that the board approve and sign the joint letter to Douglas Coombs, MDOT, Senior Project Manager, along with the Northport Select Board members regarding the preliminary engineering for safety and spot improvements on Route 1 in Northport and Lincolnville.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you all very much. And David and or Mike, would you care to speak about the next agenda item? We have MMA Legislative Policy Committee and Waldo County Budget Committee nominations, right?
Dave, you're on a roll, won't you speak?
I know.
Sure. I'm so good at
I
it.
like you just
Um,
teed him up.
Yes, so, yeah.
Select Board Member Ray suggested this be an agenda, it was included.
I did.
I think it was in your packet in the non-agenda part. The Maine Municipal Association has a large group of 70 people on the Legislative Policy Committee. So what the MMA advocacy group or division does is monitor bills that are being presented to the legislature and which ones have municipal interests or impacts. They take those bills to the Legislative Policy Committee and in general terms say, do we support this? Do we oppose this? Or are we neither here nor there, for or against?
Neither for nor against.
And I imagine, not having ever attended an LPC meeting, that there is sometimes candid debate, discussion about the pros and cons, and then they vote to take a position. And depending on what the position is and the vote is, the advocacy people go and lobby the legislature and testify for or against, or neither for or against, all sorts of bills. And Select Person Ray can probably give you much more detail because he's actually served on the LPC.
Did for a year and for the last session,
And you don't want to do it
and
anymore?
I don't want to do it anymore. Right, so I'm suggesting if anybody's interested or you know someone else, you might want to nominate that person. The reason I don't want to do it anymore, is I'd like to do it some more, but I'm running for state office, and so it would be, if I were to actually win, then I would be like advocating against myself. Or trying to tell myself what to do, type of thing. And it's, but, I mean, and the other person from Waldo County, James Cassuth, is really good at it. And I would recommend, you guys keeping him in mind as far as nomination goes. I also think it'd be a good idea if anybody here wants to nominate themselves, go for it, because it's a great opportunity for Lincolnville to be plugged in on what's going on. And the MMA does, I think, a great job, but they don't necessarily, they do a great job of advocacy, but their job is not to get back to every town and say, this is what's happening, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why it's a good idea, I think, to have us plugged in. But it's not that time consuming.
Would you care to make a motion for James?
Oh, yes, I would, yeah. I move that the select board nominate James Christus or of the municipality of Lincolnville, of Northport, and that chair Dunn be authorized to sign the nomination form on his behalf.
So moved.
I was stumbling over some of your words.
So he's, sorry,
We got the intent.
he's Northport resident,
He's Northport resident, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and as it is, there could be two people from the Senate district, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And, yeah,
I'll
Yeah,
second.
he's the town admin that makes those delicious baked goods.
that's right. And right, and if you go up and if you drive up with him, he usually shares his baked goods on the way, so it's worth it.
That was seconded?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Any other discussion? Seeing nothing, all those in favor? And is anyone else here interested in throwing their hat in the ring?
You get reimbursed for mileage. They're very, very good.
Well, next. Yes.
And they always serve you lunch and usually completely, finish it off with brownies, so,
Jeez. I don't know of anyone I can think of to nominate that wouldn't kick me.
Me too. People are looking for reasons to kick me, so.
But I think that it's great that James participates, absolutely.
Yeah, he does a good job for the towns, I think.
The other item is the Waldo County Budget Committee is going to caucus, or the commissioners are holding a caucus so that people can be nominated. I believe Robin's term is up.
I'd be happy to re-up.
You go caucus for yourself?
I got a question, did we vote on that last thing, was that so on the
Yes.
table?
You did.
We voted,
Okay,
yes,
good,
we
thanks.
did,
It's a done deal.
done deal.
Good.
Yeah, I believe Robin filled the last year of what had been Selectman
It's
Garrison's
Yep.
third year or 3-year term.
Yeah.
And so, it's District 1, and there's one open spot, and you either have, it says you can be from Waldo, but I don't know how you can be from Waldo, and Waldo already has a member on there, but anyhow, you can only have one member from one of the towns, so, if somebody wants to be, they're encouraging, I think they're offering the Zoom option too, they are, or you can attend on June 6th at 6 p.m. in the county commissioners courtroom and nominate somebody and
Okay,
vote them in.
fun stuff.
So I'm not really sure how this whole process works. I mean, I know you just explained
Would
it,
you-
but
would
it still
you want-
doesn't.
If you're interested, anyone that's interested should go to the meeting or get the Zoom link. And then when they seek nominations, wave your hand, jump up and down, whatever it takes to get the county commissioner's attention and say, I would like to serve in District 1 on the budget committee.
Yep.
And by glory, I bet you get elected pretty quickly
Yep.
before you change your
You
mind.
didn't go to those meetings.
Well,
I think you would, I think you would.
I would like to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Thanks.
But that means I have to actually go there or get a Zoom.
Or Zoom, yep.
Thursday.
I think you could have someone else go and nominate you as well. Yeah, they're gonna receive nominations from the floor, so if you can convince one, it has to be a select board member from any one of the, communities to nominate you, but.
I can't that day.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Well, it sounds like you can notify in writing by regular mail or by email, no later than the 31st.
I think if you're not going to complete your term, that's what you're supposed
Oh,
to
will
do.
not complete,
So that they can then.
so
fill
that they can then fill that one too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I misread that.
It's easy to do, it's about as clear as clear. Or if you know a select person, even from another community that will attend, that would nominate you, or somebody that was already on the budget committee that would nominate you, I think that's fair.
Well, good luck, we'd like to have you continue.
That would be great.
All right, so moving along, we need to reschedule our priority workshop. And, I'm going to go ahead and say, can we look at the July 8th select board meeting? Or potentially the Monday after that, off Monday?
Either of those is fine.
Or Tuesday.
Tuesday the 9th is not.
I just remember, yeah,
usually.
Do we wanna look at the off Monday?
we're looking
It could be the 15th.
Yeah.
I would suggest an off Monday, because the first couple of meetings after town meeting are usually kind of
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to wade through.
appointments and policy renewals
Yep.
and regular stuff. and-
Yep. So July
So-
15th?
So we're off.
Okay. And 5 or 6?
earlier better.
Later.
Could you do 5:30?
5:30, honestly, I don't think I'm retiring from my full-time job on June 20th, so.
Congratulations.
So I'm gonna have.
So you have no
lots of time.
excuse.
Five is not a problem.
So 5 PM?
Yes.
This is true.
Okay.
I'm used to.
Great, let's do 5 PM.
Cool, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
On 15, 5 p.m. here.
And moving along, Karen, you have an update for us.
Nothing.
Mike, do you have an update for us?
Yeah, I think I do, I wrote a couple things down. Oh, yeah, no, I just wanna mention that it's in your packet, that there's an MCOG meeting
Yep.
Thursday, and I'll give you an update on that, plan to attend.
Yep,
And
great.
it has to do with broadband, so I don't know how relevant that is to our concerns in town now. See if I can find out.
Great. Anything else?
No?
All right, Steve, update for us? And Robin, anything? And I also have nothing. Moving along, we have the treasurer and payroll warrants to approve and sign.
I move that the board approve and sign the treasurer's and payroll warrants.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much. And as a reminder, I need a motion to enter into executive session regarding real property.
I move that the board enter executive session pursuant to Title 1 MRSA Section 4056C regarding the possible acquisition or disposition of real property.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you very much.
For anybody watching at home, I wouldn't anticipate any votes coming out of this executive session except to adjourn.
Yeah.
So I'm shutting you off.
Okay. But we promise we will come back on if for some reason